I can get everybody's attention, we'll go ahead and get started real quick. I know there's a couple other meetings that are going to take place after this one. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're call the meeting to order. The only item on the agenda today is Senate nomination number 47, Mr. Christopher Thomas Graham for the Mississippi Department of Revenue as Commissioner of Revenue to fill an unexpired term effective immediately ending June 30th, 2022. Mr. Graham, I think, is in attendance here. If you would please come to the hot seat or the podium. Thank you. If you would please, for the members that have not had the pleasure of working with you, just give us a little background and tell us about yourself.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thanks for having me here this afternoon. He told me I could have 4 hours of your time this afternoon, so I'll take every bit of it. I'm Chris. I worked with the Legislative Budget Office for the last 3 legislative sessions, and I work primarily with the Appropriations Committee. Work directly with a number of you in doing that. They didn't let me come to Finance Committee meetings very often, and so I always wondered what you guys did over here in Finance, so I guess I get to see a little bit of it today. Just a little bit about myself. I grew up in the Jackson metro area. My father's from Little Rock, Mississippi. My mother's from McGee. They raised us in this area. I went to public schools here in this area in Rankin County. When I graduated in '92, I went to Ole Miss to do my undergraduate work. Spent 4 years there, got a degree in accounting. After that, I went to work with a bank in Tupelo. Back then it was called Bank of Mississippi and Volunteer Bank. They've since become Bancorp South Bank. Spent a little time in Tupelo and decided to go back to night school to get my Master of Accountancy degree at Millsaps. And so I moved to Jackson and continued to work at the bank during the days and went to school at night, primarily so I could pay for my degree, work during the day and go to school at night. If you made good grades, they would help you pay for it as well. As I got that degree, I got married and decided to go on to law school and went to law school back at Ole Miss for 3 years. During law school, when I started law school, I was leaning toward possibly going to an additional year after law school. They call it a Master of Laws degree, I think is what the official name of it is. It would be a LLM in taxation is what I was considering. At some point during my 3 years at Ole Miss, I decided not to do that, which is probably pretty fortunate for me. That would have been about the time September 11th happened, would have been my first fall in New York is where I was considering trying to go. But I moved back to Jackson after law school and started working in the law business. I did that for several years. I'd always had an itch to be in public service, and a position opened up at the Mississippi Ethics Commission probably 2007-ish, and I applied for it. I did not know the director or anybody on the commission at the time. I actually went to law school at about the same time Tom Hood was in law school, but we didn't know each other in law school, so the first time I met him would have been as I applied for that position. I got hired in that position and became the assistant director and counsel for the Ethics Commission. It's a small state agency. I think we had 8 employees back then. In an agency that small, you do everything from opening the mail in the morning to accounting manager to fleet manager to IT director. Whoever knew how to turn the computers off and on was mainly the IT director. After that, I ended up back in private law practice for a couple of years. Went back to the old firm that I was at, and then got the itch to come back to public service, so I ended up back at the Ethics Commission again. And so I served 2 stints at the Ethics Commission. And after the Ethics Commission, I came to the Legislative Budget Office and spent 3 sessions here working with the legislature as the Senate Budget Officer.
Okay. For the new members, give kind of a 30,000-foot view of some of the responsibilities the Commissioner of Revenue is going to have as far as just the different things you oversee, but also some of the revenue estimating committee, all these things that you take part in.
Yeah, the Department of Revenue does a whole host of things. It's not quite as bad as the Department of Finance and Administration, but the Department of Revenue is involved in a lot of different things. Probably the most important part is actually serving on the Revenue Estimating Group, because that is what serves as the framework that the Joint Legislative Budget Committee uses to adopt a revenue estimate. And so the Revenue Estimating Group gets together, looks at historical data. That group includes the state economist, which you're about to have an opening at this position of state economist. It also, in the group, is the Legislative Budget Office. You also have the Department of Treasury involved in that, as well as the Department of Finance and Administration. And so that group gets together and tries to come up with its best estimate of what the state revenues are going to be so that they can provide that to the Joint Legislative Budget Committee. The Joint Legislative Budget Committee then considers that and adopts whatever they believe the correct estimate should be, and then that's what forms the basis of the entire appropriations process as you all start meeting in January and usually finished by about April. I know y'all are a little later this session getting finished. And so that's one of the primary things that the Revenue Commissioner does. We also, at the Department of Revenue, all the state taxes that come in get collected through the Department of Revenue, which is over $8 billion a year. And the Department of Revenue collects those taxes, and some of it's diverted to municipalities, some of it's diverted to counties, some of it's diverted to state agencies, and then whatever's left over after all the diversions generally goes into the general fund. And so the general fund's almost $6 billion every year, and so you have over $2 billion that gets diverted to all the different other funds. And so in administering the revenue and the collection of revenue, the department does just all kinds of things from mail out 1 million pieces of like account statements every year, scan 8.5 million pages of returns every year. Even though a lot of things are electronic now, they still scan almost 9 million pages of documents every year. And on a lot of those documents that get scanned, somebody has to check the information that's on it to make sure that the numbers are entered correctly, that the scanners record the information correctly. Some of it's handwritten, so it's hard for the scanners to pick it up. So we spend a whole lot of time actually mashing computer buttons, making sure that the numbers that are entered on all the returns that we receive are correct. Then we also have motor vehicle titles, and so we issue titles, whether they're new titles or replacement titles. That's a big piece of what the Department of Revenue does. And then the one that's kind of been a little more obvious here lately is we run the alcohol beverage control warehouse up in Gluckstadt, and it's had some challenges this year. As I've told some of you, some of those challenges are COVID related. Some of those challenges are budget or structural related. I know the chairman was instrumental in getting a bill passed this year to set up a study committee for us to look at the ABC and how we're doing things, and the Department of Revenue will be serving on that committee and hopefully can provide some information and data that you all can use as you're developing policy this next legislative session related to the ABC warehouse. So that's primarily what we do. There's some other fees and taxes that we deal with, and just so you kind of have an idea, sales taxes, individual income taxes, corporate taxes, and use taxes account for almost 90% of the money that the state brings in. And so you can see those are kind of your important taxes, and there are a lot of other taxes and fees that we administer, but the big ones are sales tax, income tax, and then use tax.
Okay. Going through the peer report, the statutory qualifications, Commissioner of Revenue shall be a qualified elector having a bachelor's degree from accredited college or university and shall possess special knowledge, taxation, and revenue as pertaining to the state of Mississippi. You fit that. One of the other requirements is that you secure a bond in the amount of $250,000. Have you done that yet, or do you intend on doing that after the confirmation?
The bond has been secured.
It has? Okay.
Yes, sir.
All right, that was one of the things that Pierre noted. They didn't find any derogatory information in your file, and I'm going to turn it over to any questions of the committee right now. Does any member have any questions? Okay. Seeing none, I want to be fair and give opportunity to those that had opposition to this, so I'm going to turn it over to Senator Hobson to say a few words. Do you want to say anything, Senator Hobson? Do you have any words you want to?
I didn't want to delay the process any further because I know we're here looking to do a lot of things in a short amount of time. I don't have any anticipation that Chris's nomination will have any difficulty, but he's an outstanding person that's well qualified for this job. And I had the pleasure of working with him for many years. Senator Clark also had the pleasure of working with him for many years as the Senate budget analyst. And although we've got a good one to replace him, Chris will be greatly missed, and I wish him the best in his new endeavor. Assuming you guys want to go ahead and vote for him. If you don't, I know we'll take him back. Whatever y'all want to do.
Senator Horn.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and I think that I'm joined by all the colleagues of the Senate when I say that working with Christopher Graham in his capacity as the budget analyst for the Appropriations Committee has always been a pleasurable activity. He was just totally, consummately professional in how he conducted himself in that position. I've since had a chance to go out and visit the commissioner in his new role on a couple of occasions, and I know that he's attacking the ground. He's hit the ground running, and he's attacking his new responsibilities with a lot of zeal and a lot of energy. He's got a real bugaboo on his hands with ABC. If I get any complaints about Department of Revenue, it generally revolves around that department of the department. But I know that he's on top of it because I've had several conversations with him on the basis of complaints that I'm getting in my district. And he's approaching the situation with a lot of energy and a lot of zeal. And I'd like to make the motion at the proper time, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. Are there any other questions or comments from the committee? All right, seeing none, Senator Horn for a motion.
I move we do advise and consent on the nomination of Chris Graham as Commissioner of the Department of Revenue.
All right, you heard the motion. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed? It's close. Congratulations. Motion passes. Motion rise and report. All right, we're done.